Hello and welcome to our magical garden. So I just got back yesterday from a 2-week trip to find our garden has just gone crazy. So I thought I'd share with you what happens in a garden when you leave it for 2 weeks in May. So let's take a quick tour and see what's bloomed since I've been away and all of the stuff that I need to take care of. So firstly, the lilacs have bloomed and they smell absolutely delightful. And talking of delightful, we have columbine here that we didn't plant. It just reseeds itself in all kinds of odd spots. It's quite wonderful. And then moving down, these geraniums were not in bloom when we left. And again, they're quite wonderful. This penstemon put itself here, put itself in all kinds of spots in the garden. I just love the way plants do that, reseed themselves. The water lilies have begun to come out, although none of them in bloom yet. That will happen later in the year. But when we left, there were maybe just a few leaves showing. Now it's really beginning to spread out. And if we let it, it would actually take over the pond. Itoh peonies are in bloom all over the garden. We have several of them. The irises are bloomed, although they're just finishing now. The phlox have grown just crazily. They were down here when we left, so we're going to have to do the Chelsea chop there for sure. And then moving on down, have more iris in bloom. Salvia caradonna is blooming and will be attracting all kinds of bees and other insects. And then the roses that I planted just a month or so ago have bloomed. Macy's Pride looking a little sad because I moved her 3 feet or so, but she'll be fine. Next year will be her year because of course this is her 5th spot, hopefully her last spot. And then this is Joe Pye weed, which when we left was barely above the ground. And again, this will definitely need the Chelsea chop because if we left it, it would get up towards being almost as tall as that tree. Oh, and as I look, I've just noticed we have some kind of bird's nest in our tree there. So that's quite wonderful. And then you can probably tell that I have some work to do here because it has become quite overgrown. We try to leave this gap between what's growing on the fence and what's growing in the bed so that we can access the plants. So these are going to need trimming. We have a tree peony there that needs to be deadheaded. And you can see all kinds of things have put themselves in the path because the path actually needs rebuilding. Hey, Franklin. And then moving on from the Joe Pye weed, you can see more lilacs. You actually have a whole row of them there against the path. And then this is quite spectacular. Yet another Itoh peony. We do love our Itoh peonies, and it's actually taking up much more space, I think, than we anticipated. And this is summer snow. That has just gone crazy. We have it on this arbor, and we have it on the arbor over there. We also have it on the arbor over here, and you can probably see just how incredibly nuts it has gone. So I'm going to have to trim that. Also trim the ones on this arbor, pull them away from some of the other plants because it could choke them out. Pull them out of this Itoh peony, pull them out of the hydrangeas that are growing, climbing hydrangeas that are growing on the trellis, and then just tie them up with twine, because these, as you can see, will reach the top of there, and they will cover the whole thing with some wonderful white flowers. And then moving on and following this flagstone path into what we call our fountain garden, you get some idea of just how crazy this clematis is that we have on this arbor, the summer snow clematis. So I just have to fight my way through here to get into the fountain garden. You can see we have yet another Itoh peony here, ready to bloom. The lambs here are looking good. The hosta is looking okay, although it's being munched by rabbits, which is very annoying. And then moving into this bed here, you can see we have tree peony Nike that has finished blooming. We have more salvia caradonna, more irises that have bloomed. We have yet another tree peony right here with lots of good looking buds. And then we have a rather splendid clematis here that, unfortunately, because it's caged to keep the rabbits off it, because one year they ate the whole thing down, the weeds have got in there, so I've got to take this off so I can take the weeds out of there, and then it can stand a chance of not getting choked. And then on this arbor, we originally planted climbing roses, one on each side, but believe it or not, the rabbits ate them. So now we have something that we know will grow, which is, one more time, summer snow clematis. You can see it's not as established as the other clematis that we have on the other arbors, but in fact I think it's only 2 years old, maybe one. But this event, of course, will, just like the other summer snow clematis, eventually reach to the top of the arbor. So moving on into this bed, we have our fairy garden with its pond. The pond needs cleaning out because there's a fair amount of algae in there that needs to be pulled out. I've yet to put the fairy garden buildings out and the fairies, so that's my task in the next few days. And then when I left, these railroad tracks were completely clear, and this bed was clear of weeds. All of that has grown back in 2 weeks. It's quite funny. And in this bed over here, yet more crazy summer snow clematis or clematis, and more Itoh peonies just about to bloom. Yeah, sitting in front of these climbing hydrangeas. And the roses on this arbor up here have bloomed, which is good. You have the clematis that has bloomed there. So still a lot of work to do, more weeding, but hey. And then moving on, back up the garden, you can see our lilacs. And cannas have bloomed that we have in the bog of the pond. And you can see there's a pot with nothing in it because one of the water lilies has died. They tend not to stay in their pots, although that one there is in its pot. And then you can see this rose is doing rather well on its arbor. And we've started to plant up our pots, although of course, because we've been away, we're a little late. So that's still a work in progress. There's the bridge pond for the railway that I completed before we went away. And we have another rose here that again needs some wrangling. So then continuing on to our front garden, where we have yet more Itoh peonies in bloom. So we have to plant that pot up that used to be a fountain. We use it for annuals. That needs to be done. And you can see more salvia caradonna and another Itoh peony right there, and another Itoh peony there. Tree peony that's finished blooming, needs to be deadheaded. And then one more time, more summer snow clematis. Although, because this doesn't get the same sun as the back, this is a little slower to reach the top, but it's getting there. And finally, one more Itoh peony. And then I actually weeded this entire bed. I'm surprised it hasn't come back more than it has. And then I planted this Itoh peony here, and it has some blooms on. And then moving back into our back garden, we have our ferns that really like their spot. It's nice and shaded. That's the hydrangea that has been there longer than we have lived in the house. And then these lilacs are quite stunning with a wonderful fragrance. And in this huge pot here, we will put an elephant's ear that will grow nice and tall. And then here we are, back in our back garden with Franklin. So thank you for watching this tour. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe for more content just like it. Thanks for watching. Bye.